Hi, Brandon Artisan, president of Champion Strategies with our ongoing public speaking workshop. I had a parent call me about their high school student and wanting to know more of how public speaking can help them with the Model UN. Outstanding thing to ask about because what many people do not know outside of the traditional sports arena, the football, the basketball, the baseball, you can do public speaking, you can do mock trial, you can do model UN and still gain opportunities to attend college on someone else's dime. Schools who do a great job with public speaking, debate, mock trial, Model UN all have national competitions that start at the local level. And the more you progress up, the better opportunities for scholarship monies are there. So let's talk about what you need to do or your child needs to do to understand this Model UN and speaking in it. First of all, they need to be comfortable and confident to at least join and find out more of what Model UN is all about. With today's technology, it's not that hard to actually go online and see the history of UN and why it started, what it's there for. So, don't want to give you a history lesson, but I would go back to Woodrow Wilson and his famous League of Nations that he proposed at the end of World War One. But let's talk about Model UN. When you are writing and delivering speeches in an important aspect of Model UN assimilation, speeches are there to help delegates convey their positions of their member state, helping build consciousness and start formulating resolutions. So usually the committee sets the speaking time and the delegate makes a motion to set the duration if the motion has been seconded by the body of votes. So here's what I would suggest. Although speech making is very important in the Model UN simulation, many delegates' biggest fear is public speaking. It's essential that the delegates come in with confidence, well prepared, meaning that they have completed prior research, knowing their country's position, and even have objectives for a resolution during the Q&A. Now, delegates should observe decorum, be polite when speaking. The opening of a speech should always begin thanking the chair. Thank you, Honorable Chair, and also the fellow delegates. Now, in an opening of a speech, it should include briefly some of these things: the introduction, naturally, of your country and the history of the topic, any past actions by the UN or its member states to combat the problem. What is the current situation of the topic that you're presenting? Your country's overall position on the topic and why. Some possible ideas or goals for a resolution, whether there's room to negotiate your position, and if there's no stringent set guidelines, how the other delegates should execute their speeches should decide on the moderators. Now, since public speaking is a skill, it's important to practice. And you know, I always say in public speaking, we have to practice, 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 practice. Remember, the audience should always be considered when making the speech. Be aware of the audience and their diversity. The beginning of the speech must captivate the audience and motivate them to want to hear more. It must pertain to an audience interest. So, just some tips. I call them the 6 C's to improve your ability when it comes to Model UN international guidelines. And those 6 C's would include confidence. Naturally, that comes from you, the power of your voice, the way that you look and cover the room. And as a speaker, you must have confidence in yourself. Otherwise, the audience will lose confidence in you. The second C would be clear. A speaker can do many things beforehand to assist them in speaking clearly. Write an outline of the topic that you're going to talk about. Always remember to speak slowly. This will allow the audience to hear everything that is said. Know your terminology well beforehand to avoid fumbling words, to enhance the words properly. It's about articulation. And number 3 would be concise. A good public speaker will present his or her points in a clear, cut fashion. Unnecessary words and information shouldn't be used because remember, you have different delegates from different countries, and they may not understand you going that deep into the woods. So do not ramble on about the topic in order to appear that you're knowledgeable about this. The fourth C would be constructive. Constructive. An effective public speaker needs to be constructive oriented to the audience and the topic. Start with a solid foundation that brings all of your ideas and your points together. This way, anyone in the audience can look at it and said, yes, I do understand where you're going. Now, if you can do these things that I just talked about, you're well on your way to be one of the greatest team members of any high school Model UN. Now, we'll talk about the importance moving on or the following remaining C's in the next series or part 2. Once again, Brandon Hardison talking about Model UN for high school students. Great question from that parent. And we'll pick that one up on the next video. So, as always, in parting, you go out and make it a champion day.